It's easy to hide in the digital world. Easy to scroll, easy to like from a distance. Easy to send a comment when you're protected by a screen. But it takes courage, real courage, to look someone in the eye and speak life into them. To offer a sincere compliment. To make them feel seen, and that is exactly what you're going to train today. Because leadership is not built in grand moments. It is built in the smallest interactions. The way you show up for the people around you, even the strangers, is the way you will show up when it matters most. And most will never build this muscle. They will stay in their heads. They will walk through life disconnected, eyes down, breath shallow, afraid to connect. But not you. You are not here to hide. You are here to lead. And leadership begins with a presence. It begins with the courage to step into a moment, to see someone fully, and to speak into that moment with intention. Complimenting a stranger is about more than words. It is about shifting energy. It is about giving a piece of strength to someone who might need it more than you will ever know. And in doing so, you build your own strength. You stretch the edges of your comfort. You become more present, more courageous, and more connected, and the impact ripples. You might change someone's entire day with one sentence. You might shift their self-image. You might plant a seed of confidence they carry for months. You may never see the outcome. And that is what makes it leadership. You give without attachment. You serve without expectation. You lead through presence. And every time you do, you become more of the leader you are here to be. One compliment, one courageous moment, 1% stronger. And here's the deeper truth. Complimenting a stranger is not about them. It is about you. About who you are training yourself to be. Are you the person who withholds good energy? Who sees good in others but says nothing? Who lets fear of judgment or rejection silence your voice? Or are you the person who speaks life? Who lifts others? Who leads with courage, no matter how small the moment? This is an identity game. Every time you choose to speak a sincere compliment, you are voting for the kind of leader you are becoming. You are building a bias toward courage, toward connection, toward generosity of spirit. And leadership is built on that spirit. The greatest leaders are not just strategic. They are connective. They are attuned. They see the human being behind the role, behind the face, behind the story. And they speak into that humanity. Complimenting a stranger sharpens this ability. It trains your eye to see what is good, what is strong, what is beautiful in others. And it trains your voice to speak it with courage. This is not about flattery. It is about truth, about finding something real, an energy, an action, a trait, and honoring it aloud. And as you practice this, something powerful shifts inside you. You begin to move through the world with more openness, more presence. You notice more, you connect more, and people feel it. They feel your presence, your authenticity, your leadership, even in the smallest exchanges. And this practice rewires your relationship with fear, because the same fear that keeps you from complimenting a stranger is the fear that will keep you from asking for the sale, from delivering the speech, from pitching the vision, from leading the room, from standing on the edge of your potential when you speak a compliment into the world. Despite that fear, you train your nervous system to act in the presence of fear, and that is the highest level of discipline. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to act through it. And every time you do, you become more free, more powerful, more you. So today, practice this not just for the stranger, but for yourself. For the leader you are building. One compliment, 1% stronger. Now let's build this even deeper, because the ability to compliment a stranger is not an isolated skill. It is a reflection of the kind of leader who walks into a room with vision bigger than their own ego. The kind of person who scans for opportunities to elevate others, not just to elevate themselves. And this is what we are training across this 100-day journey. We are building leaders who lead through presence, through energy, through the way they make others feel in their presence. And when you choose to sincerely compliment a stranger, you shift the energy of that interaction. You create a ripple effect, one that extends beyond what you will ever see. This is why it matters. Because you are not just complimenting a stranger, you are building the courage to take the lead in the smallest of moments. And leadership is built in small moments. The way you greet the barista, the way you acknowledge the janitor, the way you thank the delivery driver, the way you compliment someone who has no obligation to impress you. Every one of these is a vote for your identity as a leader who raises the energy of every space they enter. And that identity compounds. Because when it is time to lead in bigger rooms with higher stakes, your nervous system will be ready, trained, conditioned. You will have already wired yourself to speak when it is easier to stay silent, to build when it is easier to withdraw, to elevate when it is easier to critique. And this practice, like breath mastery, rewires the way you show up in life. It pulls you out of self-focus and into contribution. It teaches you to see the good, to speak the good, and to expand the good around you. And the world needs more of that. More leaders who build, not tear down. Who lift, not diminish. Who encourage, not critique from the sidelines. And understand this, every time you act in this way, you are not only shaping your leadership, you are shaping culture. You are giving others permission to do the same. To speak life, to build others up. And culture is created by those who model what is possible in the smallest moments. So as you move through today, stay present. Scan for the good. When you see it, speak it. Not to gain favor, not to manipulate, but to build leadership in yourself and possibility in others. And when discomfort arises, breathe through it. Use the breath mastery you've trained. Use the presence you've built. Lead yourself first, then lead the moment. 1% stronger, one stranger impacted, one leader built. And here is where the deeper shift happens. When you begin to compliment others consistently, you train your mind to focus on abundance, not scarcity. On what is working, not what is lacking. On opportunity, not limitation. This shift in focus is what separates those who grow exponentially from those who stay stuck in patterns of fear and smallness. Because the way you see the world is the way you will build in the world. If you walk through life seeing what is missing, what is wrong, what is broken, that will be the reality you reinforce. But if you train yourself to see the good, the strong, the beautiful, and to speak it, that becomes your dominant lens. And that lens changes how you lead, how you create, how you live. Complimenting a stranger is training for this lens. It forces you to look beyond your own story, beyond your own insecurities, beyond your own needs, and to see the value in another. And the more you do this, the more automatic it becomes, until leadership through presence is not something you do, it is who you are. And this practice builds trust in yourself. Because every time you act with courage in a small moment, you deposit into your identity bank. You show yourself. I'm the kind of person who speaks when others stay silent, who encourages when others critique, who connects when others withdraw. And that trust fuels bigger acts of courage later. It expands your capacity to lead in rooms where courage is required. And this is the long game of leadership we are building across these 100 days. The compounding of small acts of courage, presence, discipline, and impact. Each day adding 1% to your capacity. Each day building a version of you who can walk into any room and lead not through title, but through state, through energy, through breath, through presence, through how you make others feel. And as this identity strengthens, you will notice. Strangers will no longer feel like strangers. You will move through the world with an open posture, with a willingness to connect, with a spirit that others will feel and trust. And this will open doors. It will build networks. It will create opportunities, not through tactics, but through the force of who you have become. And it starts here, today. One stranger, one compliment, 1% stronger. So scan the room, look for the good, breathe through the fear, speak life, build leadership, one moment at a time. And here's another truth. When you build the habit of complimenting strangers, you also dissolve one of the greatest barriers to leadership. The fear of what others think. Because fear of judgment is what keeps most people small. It's what keeps most people silent. It's what prevents potential from becoming performance. But every time you choose to speak, despite that fear, you weaken its grip. You show yourself, I can act even when I feel uncertain. And that is leadership in its rawest form. The ability to take courageous action despite internal resistance. This is why today's practice matters far beyond the moment. Because the courage you build in this one act will ripple into the next. The voice you use to compliment a stranger will become the voice you use to advocate for your vision. The posture you build by connecting with a stranger will become the posture you carry into the rooms where deals are made, where movements are launched, where legacy is shaped. You are not practicing to be nice. You are practicing to be powerful, to be present, to be a leader who sees, speaks, and shapes the energy of every space you enter, and leadership today requires this more than ever. In a world addicted to division, to criticism, to tearing down, the leader who builds, who lifts, who encourages, who connects, that leader is rare. That leader is trusted. That leader is followed, and you are becoming that leader. One breath, one action, one compliment at a time. But understand this, leadership also requires discernment. A compliment must be sincere, it must be specific, it must be grounded in presence. People can feel when words are empty, when they are forced, when they are inauthentic. So train presence first, train observation, slow down, breathe, see the human in front of you, not just the surface. Look for what is true, for what is good, for what is worthy of acknowledgement. And when you see it, speak it clearly, simply, with sincerity, and then move on, without attachment, without expectation. This is leadership at its highest level. Giving without needing, building without seeking reward. Contributing because that is who you are, not because of what you will get. And as you live this way, something extraordinary happens. You become the person others want to follow. Not because of what you promise, but because of who you are. Because of the energy you bring, because of the space you hold, and this begins here, today. One compliment, one stranger, one courageous moment. 1% stronger, lead it. And here is something even more powerful. The practice of complimenting others rewires how you see yourself. Because when you train your eye to see the good in others, you also begin to see more good in yourself. You dissolve patterns of self-criticism. You shift out of comparison. You train your mind to focus on what is working, what is strong, what is true. This is not toxic positivity. It is disciplined vision. The leader who can see strength in others can see potential in themselves. And the leader who can see potential is the leader who moves boldly toward it. This is why this small practice scales far beyond the moment. It shapes how you think, how you see, how you act. And as this vision sharpens, so does your leadership. You begin to spot opportunities others miss. You begin to see strengths in your team others overlook. You begin to call forth greatness in those around you, not through force, but through presence. Through the words you choose to speak. Through the energy you choose to bring, because words shape worlds. The words you speak into a stranger today may shape the world they step into tomorrow. You may never know the impact. And that is leadership, doing what is right, even when the reward is invisible. Leading with integrity, even when the recognition is absent. And this is the discipline we are building across this 100-day journey. The discipline to lead from breath, to lead from presence, to lead from contribution, to lead when no one is watching. Because leadership is not an act, it is an identity. It is who you are in every moment, in every interaction, in every space you enter. And this identity is built one decision at a time. In one breath at a time, one compliment at a time, 1% stronger every day. So as you move through today, remember, the stranger you see is not just a stranger. They are an opportunity to practice leadership, to build courage, to shape culture, to lead from presence. See them, breathe, speak life, and move on. Stronger, freer, more aligned, and trust this. Every time you choose to lead in the small moments, you are preparing yourself for the big moments. The ones that will define your life. The ones where your presence will be needed most. Build it now. One breath at a time, and know this. There is no such thing as a small act of leadership. Every choice you make to bring positive energy into the world is a choice that reverberates far beyond what you can see. Complimenting a stranger may seem simple, but it is the simplest acts, done consistently, that compound into extraordinary influence. Because most people are starved for encouragement. They move through life unseen, unheard, undervalued. They wear the armor of indifference because the world has taught them it is safer not to care. But you are here to lead differently, to be the one who sees through the armor, who names the good, who speaks what others think but are too afraid to say. And as you do this, something beautiful unfolds. You begin to move through life with more empathy, more compassion, more connection. You become a builder of bridges, not barriers, a source of light, not shadow. And this energy attracts allies, opportunities, and impact far beyond what transactional tactics can create. Because leadership is not a transaction. It is a transmission. It is the energy you bring into every interaction. And energy is contagious. When you model presence, when you model courage, when you model contribution, you give others permission to do the same. And this is how cultures shift. Not through policies alone, not through top-down directives, but through the consistent modeling of leaders who live the values they preach. Leaders who lead in the smallest moments, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. And this is the edge you are building. The edge that will serve you not just in business, not just in leadership, but in life. Because the person who can connect with a stranger with authenticity can connect with anyone, can build trust fast, can create relationships that endure, can open doors that talent alone will never open. And this edge is built right here, today, in this breath, in this choice, in this act of speaking life into someone you may never meet again. That is leadership, that is impact, that is power. So stand tall, breathe deep, scan the room, see the good, speak it, lead it, one breath at a time, one compliment at a time, 1% stronger forever. And here's another layer. The discipline of complimenting a stranger also sharpens one of the most powerful leadership skills: presence under pressure. Because there will be moments when offering a compliment will feel uncomfortable, when your mind will flood with doubt. What if they think I'm weird? What if they reject it? What if I stumble on my words? And in that moment, you train your breath, you train your courage, you breathe through the tension, you lead yourself first, and then you speak. This is the same pattern you will use in every high-stakes leadership moment. The ability to feel fear, to breathe through it, and to act anyway. The leader who can do this consistently becomes unstoppable, not because they never feel fear, but because fear no longer dictates their behavior. And this is why we practice on small stages first. On the street, in the coffee shop, at the airport, in the office hallway. These are your training grounds. Every compliment is a rep for courage, a rep for presence, a rep for leadership under tension. And leadership under tension is the edge that separates the good from the great. Anyone can lead when it's easy. Few can lead when the pressure is on. But the leader who has trained this edge through breath, through presence, through daily acts of courage, they rise when others shrink, and over time something shifts. The fear voice gets quieter, the courage voice gets stronger. What once felt risky becomes natural. What once triggered hesitation becomes opportunity. And this is the path of the 1% leader, to consistently expand the range of what feels safe, what feels possible, what feels authentic. And this expansion compounds, because the person who can compliment a stranger today will be the person who can pitch boldly tomorrow, who can challenge with love, who can cast vision with conviction, who can hold space for truth, who can shape culture through presence. This is why we build these muscles daily, not just for today's practice, but for tomorrow's possibilities, for the rooms you will one day walk into, for the people you will one day influence, for the legacy you will one day leave. And it all begins here, now. One breath, one stranger, one compliment, one leader built, breathe, speak, lead, 1% stronger, forever. And here's one more truth. As you build this practice, you will notice something else shifting: your capacity to lead through authenticity. Because complimenting a stranger is not about performing leadership. It is about embodying it. It forces you to be real, to be present, to speak from truth, not from script. And authenticity is the currency of modern leadership. In a world saturated with polished messaging and curated images, people are starving for what is real. For leaders who speak from the heart, who see others clearly, who connect without agenda, and this is what today's practice sharpens. Your ability to lead from presence, not performance. To connect with others as humans first, roles second. And this is the foundation of trust. Because trust is not built through perfection. It is built through presence. Through moments where someone feels seen, heard, valued. And the leader, who can create those moments consistently, authentically across contexts, becomes magnetic. Not because they demand trust, but because they embody it. And that embodiment begins here, in how you move through the world today, in how you see others, in how you speak life. And here's another edge. When you discipline yourself to compliment strangers, you dissolve the false hierarchy the world conditions us to adopt. You remind yourself that every person carries worth. That leadership is not about standing above others. It is about standing for others. And when you lead from that place, your influence expands exponentially because people follow leaders who elevate them, not diminish them. Leaders who build bridges, not walls. Leaders who see potential, not limitation. Leaders who speak life, not fear. And this is the kind of leader you are becoming. One breath, one word, one act of courage at a time. So as you move through today, hold this frame. Every interaction is a leadership moment. Every conversation is an opportunity to build trust. Every stranger is an invitation to practice presence, to train courage, to lead from authenticity. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Until leadership is not something you do, it is who you are, and that is the deepest power of this journey. The consistent shaping of identity through disciplined daily action. 1% stronger, one breath deeper, one leader built day after day. So stand tall, breathe deep, see clearly, speak life, lead forward. And here is perhaps the most powerful truth of all. When you build the habit of seeing and speaking life into others, you also build the habit of seeing and speaking life into yourself. Because how you treat others is ultimately a reflection of how you treat your own potential. If you train your mind to notice the good, the growth, the beauty in the world, you train it to notice those same things in your own path. And this is the foundation of self-leadership. You cannot sustainably lead others well if you are tearing yourself down internally. But when you condition yourself to compliment others with sincerity and presence, you simultaneously condition your internal voice to encourage, to build, to support your own growth. This is why today's practice matters so much more than most realize. It is not simply about kindness. It is about constructing the neural pathways that support high-performance leadership. Pathways of courage, pathways of authenticity, pathways of positive vision, externally and internally. And here's something else. The discipline to speak a compliment when it feels uncomfortable is the same discipline required to speak truth when it matters most. To have the hard conversations, to deliver the difficult feedback, to stand for values when it would be easier to conform. This is why the courage muscle must be trained daily, not just when the stakes are high, but especially when the stakes are low. Because courage compounds. Each small act expands your capacity for bigger acts. Each compliment is not just a gift to another, it is a rep for your own leadership edge. And over time, this practice transforms who you are in the world. You become someone who lifts the room, not drains it, who builds bridges, not barriers, who embodies presence, not pretense, and people will feel it. They will be drawn to it. They will trust it. Because in a world where most seek to be seen, the rare leader is the one who sees others first, who gives presence before asking for it, who speaks life without needing credit. And this is who you are becoming. One breath, one word, one stranger, 1% stronger. So today, lead from this place, lead in the unseen moments, lead in the small interactions. Because how you lead when no one is watching is how you will lead when everyone is watching, and every rep counts. Every breath builds, every word shapes, complement the stranger. Elevate their day, elevate your leadership, elevate your life. One breath at a time, one word at a time, 1% stronger, forever. And understand this, leadership is a transmission long before it is a conversation. People do not follow words alone. They follow energy, they follow presence. They follow the subtle cues of who you are being in the moment. And when you train yourself to see the good and speak it authentically, you shift your baseline energy. You become the kind of person who brings light into the room, not shadow. Who elevates the conversation, not diminishes it. And this is the kind of leader people trust. The kind they want to collaborate with. The kind they want to follow through. Uncertainty. Because presence is felt before it is heard. And today's practice is building presence. One breath, one choice, one word at a time. And this practice sharpens another vital edge, your capacity to act quickly on aligned impulses. How many times have you noticed something good in someone and thought, I should say something, but didn't? Each of those moments is a micro-training. Either you train hesitation or you train action. Either you reinforce fear or you reinforce courage. Complimenting a stranger is about training decisive action on aligned impulse. When you feel the nudge to speak, speak. When you notice the good, name it. When presence arises, lead with it. This agility is what allows great leaders to move fast, to act on vision, to seize opportunity. And it is trained in these micro moments. And the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. Soon, you will find yourself speaking life automatically. Not as a tactic, but as an expression of who you are. You will begin to move through life with a posture of contribution, seeing where you can build, where you can lift, where you can encourage. And here's the paradox. The more you give, in this way, the more you receive. Not through manipulation, not through expectation, but because the world reflects the energy you bring to it. Leaders who elevate others consistently find themselves surrounded by elevated opportunities, elevated teams, elevated impact. But it starts, always, with leading the moment in front of you. The stranger in the elevator, the clerk at the store, the colleague in the hallway, the driver in the car. These are your daily leadership reps. The unseen moments that build the seen outcomes. So today, walk through the world with this lens. Every moment is a leadership moment. Every interaction is an opportunity to elevate. Every breath is a choice point. Will you stay silent, or will you speak life? Will you contract, or will you expand? Will you follow fear, or will you lead with courage? Choose courage. Choose presence. Choose leadership. One breath at a time. 1% stronger. Forever. And here's a deeper layer. As you train this practice, you also train one of the rarest leadership qualities in the modern world: generosity of spirit. Most people operate from a place of scarcity, guarding energy, guarding words, guarding attention. But true leaders operate from abundance. They give freely, they speak life freely, they encourage without agenda. And this is why their influence multiplies. Because people are drawn to those who make them feel seen, valued, empowered. Not manipulated, not used, but truly elevated. And that energy begins in these small moments, in the choice to see the good and to speak it without needing anything in return. And here's another truth. Your capacity to build high-trust, high-performing teams will be directly correlated to this ability. Because great teams are not built on fear, they are built on trust, on belief, on consistent reinforcement of what is working, what is good, what is strong, in individuals and in the culture. And if you have not trained yourself to see and speak this consistently, you will default to critique, to correction, to transactional leadership. And while that may drive compliance, it will never unlock commitment, it will never build culture, it will never inspire loyalty. Complimenting, A stranger is not just about today's interaction. It is about training your leadership baseline. Training your ability to see the strengths in your people, to call forth their best, to build cultures of trust and excellence. And this is why it must be practiced daily. Leadership habits are built in repetition, not in resolution. You don't become an inspiring leader by wanting it. You become it by living it. In every breath, in every choice, in every interaction. And here's another edge. This practice also expands your emotional range. It teaches you to access and express appreciation, warmth, encouragement. Many leaders struggle here. They can critique, they can drive, but they cannot inspire. They cannot connect. They cannot speak life when it is most needed. But you are building that range. You are wiring it into your nervous system. You are becoming the leader who can hold space for strength and for softness, for drive and for encouragement, for challenge and for deep presence. And this is the leader the world needs now. Not just hard chargers, but whole leaders. Leaders who can build humans, not just hit numbers. Leaders who can elevate culture, not just execute strategy. Leaders who can lead from the heart, not just the head. And this capacity is being built right here, in this breath, in this choice, in this one act of seeing and speaking life. So breathe deep, stand tall, lead forward, compliment the stranger, build the leader. 1% stronger every single day. And understand this, when you build this practice deeply, it shifts not just how you speak, but how you move through life. You begin to embody a state of appreciation, of curiosity, of contribution. You begin to walk through the world, seeing potential, not limitation. And this is the lens through which all great leadership is built. Because leadership is not about control. It is about cultivation, about seeing what is possible and calling it forth, about noticing strengths others overlook and naming them, about creating environments where people rise because they feel seen and supported. And this is why your ability to compliment authentically is a core leadership skill. Because it is through language that leaders shape identity, in themselves and in others. Words are not just words, they are mirrors. They reflect back to people what is possible, what is valued, what is true. And every time you choose to speak life, you sharpen this skill. You train your voice to be a force for growth, not for fear. You train your presence to elevate, not diminish. You train your leadership to expand, not contract. And this has ripple effects far beyond the moment. Because the stranger you compliment today may carry that energy into how they lead their day, how they interact with others, how they see themselves. And you may never know the full impact. But leadership is not about knowing. It is about trusting that every act of presence matters. And here's another truth. The more you practice this, the more naturally you will influence at scale. Because leadership scale is not driven by words alone, it is driven by state. By the energy you embody. By the presence you bring, and presence is built in these micro moments, in how you speak to the stranger, in how you greet your team, in how you enter the room, in how you see the world. And this is why today's practice, it matters so much. Because it is not about random kindness, it is about systematic identity shaping. It is about training your nervous system to lead from presence, from courage, from contribution, day after day. And over time, you will notice something extraordinary. The practice that began as an external act becomes an internal shift. You will find yourself thinking in terms of possibility more often. You will notice more good in the world. You will feel more connected, more grounded, more alive. Because the leader who builds others also builds themselves. The leader who elevates others elevates their own state. The leader who speaks life shapes a life worth leading. So lead today. Lead boldly. Lead authentically. One breath. One compliment. 1% stronger. For life. And here's one final dimension to this practice. It reconnects you to the humanity of leadership. In a world driven by metrics, KPIs, and dashboards, it is easy to forget that leadership is about people, about lives, about hearts and minds, not just numbers and results. Complimenting a stranger is a daily discipline that keeps you grounded in this truth. It reminds you that behind every role is a person. Behind every performance is a story. Behind every face is a human being seeking to be seen, valued, encouraged. And the leaders who never lose sight of this, they lead movements, not just teams. They inspire loyalty, not just compliance. They create cultures where people thrive, not just survive. And this is the path you are on. One breath, one word, one moment at a time. And here's what's beautiful. The more you lead this way, the more energy you gain. Because contribution fuels you. Presence nourishes you. Connection expands you. You will find that after a sincere compliment, you feel more alive, not less. More energized, not drained. More connected, not isolated. Because we are wired for contribution. For connection, for impact. And this is the deep paradox of leadership. The more you give authentically, the more you grow. The more you elevate others, the more you elevate yourself. The more you speak life, the more life you build in your own path. So today, let this practice be more than a task. Let it be a way of being, a daily expression of who you are becoming, a tangible reflection of the leader you are training yourself to be. And as you walk through this day, remember, leadership is built in the unseen moments, in the words unspoken by others that you choose to speak, in the presence others withhold that you choose to give, in the courage others suppress that you choose to express. Lead those moments, own those moments, because how you lead the small determines how you will lead the great. And today's small moment, a single, sincere compliment, may be the greatest leadership act of your day. So breathe, center, see the good, speak the truth, lead the moment, one breath at a time. 1% stronger every single day. And now, as you breathe into this next moment, remember, leadership is not built in a single day or a single act. It is built through disciplined presence, day after day. It is forged in the smallest moments, the unseen choices, the daily decisions to show up as the leader you are becoming. And today's practice, complimenting a stranger, is more than an action. It is a vote for your future identity, a signal to your nervous system that you are a person who leads with courage, who elevates with presence, who acts despite fear, who chooses contribution over comfort. And that is a rare identity. One the world is craving. One your future self will thank you for building. One breath, one choice, one moment at a time. Because, here's the truth. Every great leader was once the person who dared to speak when others stayed silent, who dared to encourage when others withheld, who dared to lead in the unseen spaces long before they were given the big stage. And this is who you are becoming. Day by day, breath by breath, compliment by compliment. And this practice will ripple into everything you do, into how you lead your team, into how you build your culture, into how you parent, into how you partner, into how you move through life. Because leadership is not a role you step into. It is a way of being you embody. And today, you embody it through one simple, powerful act, seeing the good and speaking it with courage. So as you move through this day, remember, you are shaping the future leader in every breath you take, every word you speak, every choice you make. Lead the moment, own the moment, build the leader, compliment the stranger, and breathe 1% stronger.